Welcome back. It's another episode of the Everything Jared Show. It is a cool day today if you're into numerology or whatever the word that is. February 2nd, 2022. A bunch of twos. 2222. Yeah, pretty cool day. Pretty cool number. And we got a special guest. I kind of say everyone's special, but this one actually is special. He's an old coach of mine. He's not old as in the past, but his name is Fernando, and we're going to learn a little bit about him today. So I basically have a few podcast shows just to explain a little bit, and I enjoy them, but I kind of have a lot of Facebook friends that I don't really know too well. A lot of people on LinkedIn I'm connected with that I don't really know too well. So I kind of wanted to have a little bit of a series of interviewing just people from my online networks and kind of just learning a little bit more about them. So Lewis was great, happy enough to volunteer. So we're grateful for that. And we're going to learn a little bit about Lewis today, or Luis. I'm sorry, I'm saying it the American way. So Lewis, do you have any, Luis, how do you want me to say your name? Luis or Lewis?
Luis is the name.
All right, Luis, my bad for being an ignorant American, but Luis, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Just what you do, where you're from, just a general hello.
Yeah, that's always a hard question because I don't know like where to start. But so I'm a leadership development consultant. I teach people how to people. That's basically what I do. I also have a Kratom business. I've been importing Kratom from Indonesia. Gosh, it's gonna be probably 6 years. Helping a lot of people with that. You've purchased, before also,
Quite a bit.
two kids, and I've been into crypto for a while. I teach people about it too. So, a little bit of everything. I like to say that my life is an act of devotion,
Mm-hmm. And I believe you're also at least used to be like kind of head of some anarchy groups online, anarchist groups.
Well, I was with the Libertarian Party for several years, probably 5 years, and I was really into that. And I also helped, anything that's related with the liberty groups. So yes, I did a lot of that. And at some point, I was helping the expat community of a newsletter that I write for, the Dollar Vigilante. So, helping people see what it looks like on the other side, because oftentimes the US media makes it seem like anything outside the United States is dirt or dangerous, or you're going to get beheaded, or, so I would travel some, or I would interview people that live in that place, and, we will talk about it.
That's awesome. I feel like I remember seeing a meme that you shared once showing just that. It was like what people think Mexico looks like, and it's obviously like we think it's all slums and dangerous, and then I think you were actually in Mexico and you showed what Mexico actually looks like, and it's like a beautiful paradise. And I feel like that's kind of the same perception Americans have about a lot of places, unfortunately. It's not too accurate. But how did you get into leadership? That's I like that role. I feel like what you did for me is kind of teach me how to be a person. I think it's working a little bit, but how did you get into that?
Well, it's not teaching people to be a person, but what I mean by that is, for instance, when somebody gets promoted, usually is because they're really good at their trade, at their job, but that doesn't mean they're really good at leading. So there's a lot of frictions that sometimes happen that are kind of unnecessary because, a lot of those things are manageable. So every time that a person goes up a rank or in a supervisory position, there are different skills that they have to learn. And that's where I come in. I help them with different processes or skills. So all of that started, this is kind of funny. And this actually is a great parallel teaching to the whole idea of one door closes, another opens kind of thing. I was working at a place that I totally didn't like. I was really burnt out. I don't want to give it a lot more attention, but it was horrible. So I left. I just left. I said, I can't keep doing this. So I started doing one-on-one coaching with people, and I'm also a certified yoga instructor. So I put a little bit of mindfulness and meditation into the coaching.
Right.
And at some point, a guy tapped me on the shoulder and he said, "Hey, we are doing what you're doing, but at a large scale. Would you like to join us?" And I said, "Okay." And what's interesting is that, like, I shit you not, probably 2 nights before that, a guy that I followed, Bill Harris, who appeared in the movie The Secret, I looked him up, and on his bio it said consultant. And I said, well, I want to be a consultant. And then like 2 days later, this guy emails me, and basically, so, he invited me to his consulting firm. So we are, I worked with him for probably 10 years. And it was a fantastic teaching experience. I went from like really rough, into a lot better through his teachings and the teachings of the other co-owner, or co-founder. And what's interesting about it is that she was mentored directly by Robert Greenleaf, which is the father of servant leadership. So it's I didn't know what I was getting into, quite honestly, but it happened to be like a lineage of like Robert Greenleaf, this lady, and me.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's kind of like how when you put yourself in certain places at a certain time, things work out.
Right.
I think it was Woody Allen who said life is 80% just showing up.
That's definitely the truth. I mean, especially I feel like now with the way the labor market is, there's so many people who like don't have jobs and are complaining. And in my head, I'm like, right now, all you have to do is show up. People are hiring because there's so many job openings. You just have to show up, and that's definitely true in life as well. I completely agree. So that sounds like sounds lucky, but I don't think there's really anything too much with luck. I think you were prepared for the moment when it came, and you kind of took advantage of it. So that's pretty cool. Do you have a similar experience with Kratom? How did you get into Kratom? Was that by chance, or was that a little more intentional, or what happened there?
I will say that when you are prepared for something and then an opportunity arises, it seems like luck, but it isn't, like you mentioned. So the whole idea of that, like, I had prepared myself for years. I had been teaching for years. I became an HIV certified instructor. I was teaching in jails. I was teaching in like all sorts of places. So then I became a yoga instructor, and I got certified. I was teaching classes. So, my experience in teaching was there, but it is a lot different to do coaching and consulting, because you have to have an experience doing things. So that it's because otherwise you're just passing knowledge from a book from one person to the other, and that doesn't always work because there's a lot of nuance involved. So with Kratom, I got a brown recluse bite at some point, and it really damaged part of my nervous system. So I had no energy at all. Like my left hand,
Explain what happened. I didn't catch that. What happened to you?
Brown recluse bite.
What is
like
that?
A spider.
Oh,
it's one of the deadliest spiders.
Got you. I didn't know that. So I heard bite, and I didn't understand. I didn't understand what bit you. So a spider.
Yeah, no worries. When you're driving, sometimes you don't even pay attention. You're just driving with one hand or the other. So I couldn't drive with my left hand because I had no strength in that hand. Like my arm could not stay like this.
What?
Like, I mean, it was
native to Texas?
No, that was actually North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was there for a wedding. At any rate, because I have 2 kids. At that point, I was married. I couldn't just say, okay, well, too bad. I'm gonna just wail on my, vicissitudes of life. So I found Kratom. One of my friends was selling it, and I was doing interviews at a time, kind of like this one. And he would market his Kratom with my interviews. It was like a sponsor. So I started taking it because he would pay me with Kratom instead of money. And I was like, okay, that works. And then I liked it a lot. And at that point, the FDA decided that they wanted to turn Kratom into a Schedule 1 substance. That's like heroin, like it means that it has no medicinal value and it's just a drug.
Marijuana too.
A bunch of people jumped and they fought against it. But my free market mindset was, wait a minute, what happens when everybody wants to, like when something is getting prohibited, everybody wants to go do it, right? So I ordered a bunch of kilos at once from an Indonesian man that I had built a relationship with, because at that point I was ordering mine already. So I did so again, it's not luck. I had already done the legwork of checking a bunch of vendors to see which one was suitable,
Right.
So I already found 2 that were amazing. And then I just sent me a bunch of kilos. And then I sold it in one day. So, I understood the assignment. I was like, okay. So I haven't stopped, since then.
That's awesome. So, yeah. And then what I feel like the legality around Kratom is like pretty weird, because it's obviously not a Schedule 1 drug, I don't believe, but I feel like it's like illegal in some places, some states, or not some states. I feel like or some stores will just not carry it because they don't agree with it. I didn't realize it. I knew CBD wasn't like allowed by PayPal. They don't like selling CBD. I actually sold Kratom online, and I didn't realize PayPal doesn't like Kratom either. And they like flagged my account and closed it down. So obviously, it was 2 months ago. So yeah, PayPal doesn't like Kratom either. Yeah, maybe look into that. But what do you know what the legal situation is with that? Is it moving anyway? Are some states not cool with it?
So PayPal shut me down, Venmo shut me down, Square shut me down, Coinbase shut me down, another
Coinbase.
Bank.
Wait, Coinbase? No way, that's crazy.
Yeah, and actually, if you look into their bylaws, you will see the word Kratom.
Huh. That's crazy. That's interesting.
So it's not illegal. It's actually fully legal, but there are like 5 states where it's not. Like Rhode Island and Alabama. So anyway, there's like 5 of them. I don't ship to those places. I kind of don't like. I enjoy freedom.
Right.
So the way it works is like banks have a lot of pressure from the government. So it's not like banks are against us or anything like that. It's like they are basically like, if they want to operate, they have to play with the laws of the government. Right. So they don't want to get banned. They don't want to pay for fines or anything like that. So what they do, like, I don't want to touch your money, bro. That's what they do.
Right.
So all of those banks that I mentioned, they shut me down.
Damn, that's crazy.
And yeah, so I try to operate in crypto. I found a way where I can take cards again. My cat's crazy. So yeah, what happened, and I did a little bit of digging. The family that owns the oxycodone wanted to, like, they were lobbying the federal government to make Kratom a Schedule 1 so they could use the biological blueprint, and so like use Kratom plus something, so they turn it into a medicine
and patent it, right? Because then they can patent
it and sell it for like 10 times what I sell it for.
Yep, it's ridiculous. A lot of companies are doing the same thing with mushrooms right now. They're trying to make like synthetic versions of something that's natural, just so they can patent it and then make billions of dollars on it. And it's like, no, it's actually natural. You don't need to change it, synthesize it at all. But that's what they do. It sucks. But that leads me to, I guess, next topic of conversation, freedom. definitely something that you seem passionate about. So I kind of want to know what made you kind of get into freedom. Has that always been like a passion of yours? Did something happen to you at a certain point where you're like, this isn't right and I have to stand for it? And then what are some things that you're working to do to make us more free? I feel like you helped make like concealed carry a thing in Texas, I believe. You obviously work with Bitcoin. What are some other things that you kind of do to promote that freedom?
Okay, so I did activism for many years. I don't even remember, probably since 2010. And we did help get open carry legalized in Texas. Can you believe we didn't have that in Texas? That's weird.
Yeah, no,
So
I don't, it doesn't make sense.
now we do.
Yeah.
And not just that, but now it's constitutional carry. Like you can open carry without anything, like you can. So, you know, we paved the way for that to happen. Here in my city, or I think, well, yeah, city-wise, we got rid of red light cameras because they're unconstitutional. So, you know, we got rid of them, and we do all sorts of things like that. But at some point, it dawned on me that I can't just be like doing this all the time. So what I noticed is I got shut down, besides the banks, by Facebook. Like I got banned from YouTube before it was cool, you know?
Yeah.
Like I was reporting some phosphorus attacks in like Middle East, some stuff like that. That was a big no-no. They shut me down completely, and like that. And you know, anyway, Facebook, everything. And then I was saying like, okay, all the work that I've done is still there, but no more work is getting out there. Like I have friends, it's not just me doing this. So it's like like 12 of us. But what happens if we go away? Like who else is going to keep doing this? So I was like, you know, this is not sustainable. So what I started doing then is, instead of just like marching and getting, you know, things worked, I started focusing on growing people. Because that's what's sustainable. And so it doesn't matter who is leading, because we all are leaders and we all are sovereign beings and we all are centered. So that's my activism shift its focus from me and my friends are going to save the world to I'm going to empower as many people as I possibly can, so they can save themselves, so we all grow together, you know. And like so that, like you said, when it's always been there, but specifically, I think it was March of 2011. I remember. I started learning about shamanism with one of my teachers, and that was like the first time I took San Pedro cactus with him, and that was such a fascinating experience. And when I came out, I said, Mike, Ron Paul is right. And Mike says, yep. So that's like what changed everything, you know?
Yeah.
So I started learning and trying to like absorb as many things as possible, because I was really, that was a humongous awakening for me, you know? Like I received, you know, in 8 hours, a master's degree in economic policy kind of thing. So that was a huge jump start.
That's awesome. I feel like psychedelics are what jump starts it for a lot of people, because it allows you to kind of see things from a different perspective and kind of take yourself out of it and look at it with a logical point of view, not just like with a bunch of bias that we kind of all have in us. So I love how much you fight for freedom. I feel like you've allowed me to live a more free life just by doing your activism. But unfortunately, I feel like we're at a point where that freedom seems to be getting tougher to come about, and the control groups are kind of trying to tighten their grips on us. Are you worried a little bit about like where we're at or where we're going? Do you think it's kind of a necessary step to get more freedom, that like it's their last hurrah to try and grab us before we're truly free, or how do you like kind of see the outlook of things right now?
Well, I don't think that life is linear or unilateral. Like, I think that there's a couple of ways to look at things. It's like a diamond, has several faces, but you still look at the same thing. So I mean, like, look, I like, I'm in Texas. I believe in weapons.
Yeah.
One of my friends, like, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna fight for freedom. If it doesn't matter, if whatever it takes, one of my friends told me, if my grandparents would have thought like you, they would have died in Poland. And I was like, he said, they left, and because of that, their family remained free and alive. And I was like, okay, that makes sense, because yeah. So something shifted in me. It's like, okay. And then one of my mentors, Doug Casey, he told me, Luis, he said, the way he speaks, like, America is not a zip code, it's an idea. And that was like such an enlightening thing. It's not a zip code, it's an idea, and you can take that idea anywhere you want. That blew my mind. So I do think, and if you look at it from a more seeing things whole kind of situation, all problems are opportunities to wake up. So yes, I don't think the problem is the government. I think the problem is ignorance. I think the problem is laziness. Like, all of those things are beautiful things to help us see who we really are, because without problems, we can't really truly expand to all our levels, right? But some people are like letting it get too out of hand, to where it becomes a harsher awakening, if you will. So yes, I think it's not necessarily horrible. Like, it's helped some people wake up. Like, a lot of people are starting to see what's really taking place. And I think somebody said there wouldn't be so many anarchists if we lived in the world that Ayn Rand wanted. Like, everybody will be happy, but because that's not the case. And they're creating a lot of that. And I tell my son, like, when you take your pendulum like too far into one side, physics tells us that it's going to have to come almost to this side. So it's just part of life. So
the natural balance. I like it. So I guess I've heard, I don't know too much, but I've heard people in Texas have kind of always talked about like seceding and kind of creating their own country. Do you think that's a possibility at all then?
No, I mean, like, the more and this is a little bit sad, I guess, because we don't have that spirit of freedom anymore in Texas. Does it exist? Yes. Is it prevalent? No. Most people want to be comfortable, like, oh, that's too much. Oh, it costs too much, and the cost is not just financial. It can be, but it's not just financial. What does it take? So a lot of people are not really willing to pay that price. And that's when, if I am fighting alone, maybe I should listen to, my friend Sasha, and, like, just go somewhere. There are other places. Now, Texas, I think, is the land of milk and honey at this moment in time. It's probably the best place in the United States, like, even better than Florida, so I do want to stay here as long as possible. And what is interesting and sad is that a lot of people that are leaving really places with really big government come here and try to make it the same way.
Yeah, I've been seeing that.
Like, you left because you were not happy with it. Why are you trying to change it? You came here because you liked it.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's a lot of Californians coming to Texas, right? And so it seems like
New York and Colorado, like.
Yeah. So I guess this is probably gonna be might be the last question, or at least one of the last questions. How would you want to see the future then? What are like some goals of yours, or what would you like to see done differently or more of to see the future that Luis wants?
That's such a difficult question because, I don't want to like have my will on anybody else. I will say that the future, like I am optimistic about the future. I don't think things are gonna go down the drain like a lot of people think. I think we're gonna go through a rough time, but I think hopefully that's what's gonna take for people to become more self-reliant, more powerful, more I don't know, intelligent, So we all grow through those moments. So that's my hope, that we all learn from our mistakes. And ultimately, I just want to be able to just do my thing and not hurt anybody and
Not
grow and
divide.
expand and experience as much of life as I possibly can.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I like that. How do you go about like promoting that to your children? Are you pretty on hand with your children, or do you kind of let them discover that for themselves then?
That's both,
A little bit of
because
both.
I live in a certain way and I speak in that same, like it's parallel, because I teach them about, like, I am an existentialist. So what does that mean? Like what I say and what I like, focus on what I do. That's what people really believe in, what they do. They will tell you one thing, but that's a lot of times not the same. So as an
Right.
existentialist, I look at what is being done. So that's what I do. Like I live it, I do these things, and I if they're open and they ask questions, I teach. But because it's the exact same thing, like I let them do their own thing. So the way I go about it is more of a fiduciary, of a trust fund. I want the trust fund to mature and to grow. I don't want to manipulate it. It's not for me.
Right.
I think a lot of parents live through their kids because they didn't get a chance to do X and Y. So what I do is like, okay, I may not agree with this, but it's not dangerous and it's not hurting anybody. So do your thing. Like we don't
Right.
have to agree to be friends, kind of thing. In fact, my job is to support you in anything you want, as long as it doesn't hurt you or others. Like, and that's it.
I like it. Well, from my point of view, I've never met you in person, but I've definitely seen a lot of your parenting online, or at least parts of it. And from my point of view, it looks like you're an awesome dad. I think your kids are probably very thankful to have you doing what you're doing for them. But I think that's about all the time I have for today. I could probably ask you questions for hours and hours, so we're probably going to have to do this again. You have so many interesting aspects and so much knowledge to share with everyone. So really appreciate that. Do you have any last thoughts, last closing statements?
Just if anybody's interested in getting the best damn kratom, go to
Yeah.
bestdamnkratom.com, or any leadership development for themselves or their enterprises. Like it's never too big. Like I have helped with alignments for University of Pennsylvania, for their new hospital. Or I do one-on-one coachings, nothing too small, nothing too big.
Awesome. I love it. And I can attest to both the Kratom and the coaching. They're both A+ services. Kratom, just in case some people don't know, what are some uses to use Kratom for? Because I think there's a lot of uses. What are some
Yes.
common ones?
So like the vast majority of people that purchase Kratom from me is because they use it as pain management. So people that, I have a friend that, well, he became a friend because of Kratom, but he has a tumor in his spine, unbearable pain. And the only thing that, the way he says it is like, the only thing that gives me my life back is Kratom. Because like hydrocodone makes him to like he has no pain, but he has no life.
Right. Makes you zombie.
And people with rheumatoid arthritis and all sorts of medical challenges, they buy it from me for the reason. Some people that have had anxiety they buy it too. Now, I'm not saying that it cures it or treats or anything. I'm just saying that these people take it for those reasons, and they claim that it helps.
Right.
I take it to get a little more energy. Single dad, 2 kids, 2 businesses, always on the go. So a little pep in my step kind of thing.
Yeah, same. It gives me a lot of energy, and it helps me focus a bit, which I feel like it's like similar to Adderall in some aspects, but similar to what you're saying. I think everyone who does want to try it needs to like research and make sure it's good for what they want, because there's kind of a lot of wide ranges of use and ways to go about it. But thank you, Luis. I really enjoyed talking to you. I'm excited to one day visit you in Texas. I hope you one day come visit me in Philly. We'll go to the gun range, shoot some guns and stuff, and become free. But thank you as always. Have a good rest of the day. Much love. See you soon.